Hi YouTube, I'm Crypt, as some of you may know, actually. Sorry for not posting this week. College got in the way, and by college, I mean college, and I got tired. I had a video that I was gonna film, but then I didn't. It was a whole thing. We'll figure it out. I will say, just kind of as an update, I did just start a new job, and I'm starting training for it this week. So my scheduling, my posting schedule might be a little more hectic across all my social platforms. Hopefully not, but I can't promise anything, so I'm gonna just kind of put that disclaimer here. Anyways, you're not here for that kind of content. You're here for the content that I titled this video as. So, con etiquette, right? I don't know how many of you have gone to like conventions a lot, but I am a pretty seasoned con goer. I've been going to conventions since 2019, and I know there was that break in 2020 where there were no cons, and a little bit of 2021, but I've been to a lot. And this last like year, especially when I go to conventions, I've noticed there has been a dip in con etiquette, and that could be like a number of things. I don't really know why. I personally think it's the fact that like because of like 2020 and the fact that there weren't conventions going on, a lot of people like aren't like, they didn't get the experience of just going to a convention and like getting the con etiquette from other people. And so when conventions opened back up, there were a bunch of new cosplayers and like new people wanting to go to cons, which is amazing, that's awesome. But there weren't a lot of people familiar with con etiquette, which is, you know, not the greatest thing when you have giant conventions like that. So what I've done is I've collaborated a list. It's not as long as this looks, I promise. It's just on my phone. I have 12 little points here, so we're gonna go through all of them. I'm gonna keep this video as short as I possibly can, however, I will make no promises. This is basically con etiquette. There's no like master list of like con etiquette. The overall thing is like, don't be a dick. That's pretty much all you have to know. So like if you're in a hurry, if like your friend drugged you to a con last minute and you're like, how do I behave? Don't be the worst and you'll be fine. So have fun. But for people like me, who need to know absolutely everything and have like a guideline, even though you're not gonna do anything out of line, but like you need to know just in case for some reason, I got you. You just like me for real. I've gathered, again, there's no master post for this, and I've gathered this list from like talking to other cosplayers and that like stories I've read online and through my own personal experience. So I was like, you know what? Like I know there's a million other cosplay con etiquette guides out there, but I'm gonna make my own because I can. And no one's stopping me. Con etiquette, like in and of itself, I feel like is a pretty explainable term. It's a list of rules of like what to do and what not to do at conventions. You know, it's kind of like your basic guidelines to be a good con goer. And this is like applies to both cosplayers and non-cosplayers. I speak from experience being a cosplayer, but this will apply to like non-cosplayers as well. I've created this list in the most generalized standpoint so that you can take a point and apply it to most situations. Like, you'd have to be kind of really creative to not have an area to apply this to, but it's basically to like help prevent injuries and make sure everyone's comfortable and safe. So, connecting the first one, my like biggest thing at cons, I think, personally, is like don't crowd people, please. Especially like non-cosplayers and cosplayers. Just like, I know that con halls can get really packed, and like that's kind of impossible to fix just because of how conventions work. But like if you are actively crowding a cosplayer or like somebody else because you want to talk to them or you want to have a photo with them, please don't do that. And I get that can be kind of hard because you really want to meet this person or you really want to talk to them because I think they look cool, and that's amazing. And like as a cosplayer, I love it when people want to come and talk to me. I adore it. It's one of my favorite parts of being a cosplayer. However, it becomes really unsafe and actually can be really painful when people start crowding you to the point that like you can't even like breathe correctly because there's so many people and it's so overwhelming and you're like, whoa, I need to like take a moment. And like especially when you're crowding people in like the artist alley, it can get really dangerous for not only you and the cosplayer but any other people around, because artist alleys tend to be like fairly narrow. Like you'll have spaces that are probably a little bit bigger than this, a lot of it bigger than this. You get what I'm trying to say though. They're narrow spaces with tables on each side, so you don't really have like a way to leave. They'll have like your intersections, but you have to like get there first to be able to do that. And when you crowd cosplayers or you crowd people in those areas, like I get needing to be like around a booth to like buy something, but when they get to a point where like other people can't move or like there's like a traffic jam kind of, it gets really dangerous and really scary really fast. When I went to Lilac City Comic Con in 2019, I went with my friend Koi, who I'll put their tag here, and we went as Hades and Persephone from Lore Olympus the first day. We actually ended up having to leave the con like way earlier than we originally intended because there were so many people constantly like coming up into our space and coming into our business, which again, me and Koi, and we do love talking to people and like hearing what people have to say. We love getting photos taken. Like, I will admit, I love the camera. But like, it's a lot when you're like just trying to like buy a print or like get food and you can't even do that because like so many people are asking you at once. And like, I get it. Like, I do really get like seeing somebody that like from a fandom you really like and wanting to have a photo with them. But like, if you like, obviously don't stalk them, but like maybe keep an eye on them until they're in a more like wide open space and they don't look like they're having an actual anxiety attack or like panic attack, and then you can go up and talk to them. Because like, our biggest problem with when we took Persephone and Hades, we'd move like 5 spaces. We'd move 5 spaces and then somebody else would like come up and want to ask questions and take photos, and that's great, and I love that. Except the thing is that both of us were having panic attacks and we were trying to leave. Like, we were trying to leave the con hall and we couldn't even do that. And I actually ended up having to kind of be mean at the very end of the con as we were trying to leave because both of us were just not having a good time, and I was like, I want to get home, I'm tired, I'm gonna have a panic attack. And people just kept coming up to us, and we're clearly not in states of like, yes, we want to talk to you. We were very clearly having a panic attack, or so I've been told. Obviously, I don't really see how I was looking, but I was told by like my other friends who were there with us that were like, yeah, you obviously were not doing good. I don't know why I sound like I'm about to cry. I'm totally fine. Anyways, but like, as we were leaving, we kept having people come up, and I was letting Koi go first just because they had a lot like more costume, they had a long dress, and that's kind of like scary to navigate, so I was letting them go in front of me, and people were coming up to me and being like, hey, can I take a photo? And I had to be like, no, I'm sorry, but like, we gotta go home, like, we're tired. We hadn't eaten that day, I don't think. Like, we were really tired and we wanted to go home. I think we'd eaten a little bit, but it was like con food, and that wasn't, you know, it's not the greatest. And like, all of this is not like City Comic Con's fault at all. They can't control their the con goers like that at all. It's just the fact that like, if they're cosplayers clearly not having a good time, maybe they're the kind of people that you just kind of leave alone. You know, they'll either be there later in the day, and if they're not, it's not the end of the world. Like, it's okay. You'll be okay. With being in personal spaces, this especially goes for like child cosplayers. Child cosplayers are so cute and adorable, and they're so fun to like watch around, like walk around and like do their thing, but like, those are still children. Please let them have their space. If you want a photo with them, ask their parents. They should have parents with them. Ask their parents. And if they say no, don't put up a fight. That's fine. That is a child. We just, you know, if they want a photo, and if the parents are okay with the photo and the child's okay with the photo, especially if the child's okay with the photo, take the photo. If otherwise, hands off the children. No children. Number 2, going back to kind of the photo thing that I was talking about earlier, please ask politely for photos, and like, don't be creepy about it. As we know, there's the stereotype, and it sadly does happen in the real world, where men will like take candid photos of women or like AFAB people in skirts. This sort of thing is never okay, and can be classified as harassment or stalking. If you want to photograph somebody, please just ask. And if you want to take a photograph with somebody, ask before you touch them. I went to Level Up Expo in Vegas this last year, and I went as Gerudo Link from the Legend of Zelda series. It was a really fun time, really fun con. I really enjoyed it. I felt really safe most of the time, except there were a few times where like I had asked for like photos to be taken, and I was totally cool with that. Except the thing is that this one time, thankfully it didn't actually happen very much, but there was a specific instance that I remember where I went to go take a photo with somebody, and he wanted to be in the photo, and his friend took it, and I was like, that's fine, like, whatever. Here's my cosplay of Gerudo Link, just so you know what that looks like. This man was probably in his 30s, probably, and I went to go take a photo of him, and he just like put his hand around my waist, which I was not comfortable with at all, and I definitely looked uncomfortable, and I pulled away instantly, and he got like really offended that I would like even think about pulling away, and I was like, dog, I am a child. And it's just like really uncomfortable. So if you're gonna ask for a photo and you're gonna be in a photo with somebody, please ask before they touch them, and if they say no, be respectful about it. It's okay. You're gonna live. You're gonna be okay if you don't get to touch the cosplayer, I promise. On top of asking for photos, please don't ask a cosplayer for photos if they're actively like eating They're real people, not their characters, and they need to take care of themselves. There is a horrible stereotype in cosplay where cosplayers just don't eat during the convention, and they'll probably only eat once a day, and it's something small, and sadly that is true. I do it myself sometimes, which is not healthy, of course, but if a cosplayer is eating, that might be the only chance I've been able to eat all day. I promise they'll be there later. You can hunt them down later and find them and ask for a photo, and I'm sure they'd be happy to oblige, but if they are actively eating, please just let them take care of themselves for a little bit. So number 3 is a cosplayer is not their character. I feel like this is a given, but apparently it's not. If you are seeing somebody in cosplay and they are cosplaying someone you don't like, or cosplaying someone you find attractive, or just cosplaying someone you know, that doesn't give you the permission to harass them in any sort of way, shape, or form. If you don't like the character, you don't just get to go up and start being mean to them. If you find the character attractive, like this was a problem with Lady Dimitrescu cosplayers, I've noticed, where specifically men, I've noticed, and it can be women as well, but like in my own personal experience, it does tend to be men who will go up and they'll start making really gross comments, like asking them to step on them and whatever. And like some cosplayers think this is really funny, but you have to remember that not all cosplayers have that sense of humor and they don't really want to be sexualized like that. And you might be thinking like, oh, well, they're cosplaying a sexualized character. Well, yeah, but they're still human. So that, you know, it doesn't automatically mean that like you can say that kind of thing to them. And you also have to remember that you don't know what cosplayers' ages are. I have been mistaken from anywhere to 13 to 27. I'm a minor. I've been told that in some of my cosplays, I definitely look 12. And in some of my cosplays, I look well into my 20s. And I'm like, okay. That's wild. You know, so I've had a lot of grown men hit on me, and then I'm like, hey, I'm not an adult, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, this is why we ask. So instead of like channeling your attraction to this character or hatred for this character into harassment, just like, if you want to talk to them, go ahead and talk to them. Just don't be weird about it, or don't be mean. You know, you guys clearly have a fandom that you like in common, so like bond over that. Like maybe a positive experience could come out of it. Maybe you could even make a new friend. Just don't be weird. Cosplayers, your turn. Just because your character says something or does something in the video game does not mean that you get to do it in real life. Quartet cosplayers. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. Homestuck. I'm talking to you. Just because they like to say the F word and scream it in public does not mean that you get to. Like, I know, you know, some of us are adults, and that's fine, but there are also children in these, like, areas. I'm not saying that you can't swear at conventions. I sound like a sailor at conventions. However, I'm not also screaming the F word at children. There are children present at these functions, so, you know, even if you're not an adult, maybe act like one. Not, just, you know, don't be the worst. Hands off of other people's props. Please, I'm begging you. The amount of times, I thankfully have never had it happen because I'm very, very protective of my props, but the amount of times I've seen people's props get broken because somebody just like thinks it's funny to grab it, or like a friend will like run off with it, and you're like, okay, that's not fun. It's really not okay, and like these props can like, it can take as little as a day to like months to make these props. You have no idea. I am very particular about my props. I only ever let 2 people touch my props without my knowledge, and it's because they're both seasoned cosplayers and they know how much time went into them. But most of the time when people ask if they can touch my props, the answer is no, most of the time. And that's not because I don't trust them. No, actually, no, it is because I don't trust them. I don't know you. And I don't really want to give you my like valuable item that I spent a lot of time making. And that's not like a personal thing, it's just, I don't want it to break. Alright, cosplayers and non-cosplayers. If someone's cosplay doesn't look entirely game accurate, or if it's made poorly, or whatever, don't make fun of them for it. I'm not gonna go a whole lot into detail because that's pretty self-explanatory. But like, just don't be mean. We all started somewhere. This is a hard hobby, especially game accurate. If you want to be game accurate, that's hard. Don't be mean. I don't know what number I'm on. I forgot to number them. I think I'm on 8. I'm on 8. Do not throw things at cosplayers. As you would, hopefully, not throw things at like a music artist, which we should stop doing that as well. Don't throw things at cosplayers, and this includes plush or soft things, and yes, that does include underwear. And you're thinking to yourself, that's gross, why would anyone ever do that? This goes back to the sexualization thing, and I've seen it happen. Thankfully, I've never been the target, but I have seen it happen, and oh my gosh, it is mortifying. Like most other things, throwing any sort of thing at anybody at a convention can get you kicked out. Personal hygiene. Bathe yourself. Wear deodorant. Please. Number 10, I think. Cosplayers, you're representing a fandom. Don't be horrible. Don't be that cosplayer. You know that one venti cosplayer who was racist, I think last year? Don't be that person, okay? Don't do it. Don't ruin it. Don't do it. I see you thinking about it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm sorry. If you see something, say something to like a convention staff or somebody. And I'm talking, not like if you see anything, obviously you don't have to like tell the staff like your encounter day experience. But the amount of conventions that I've been to where I've either seen or actually been involved in myself with like harassment is most of them, actually. And it's really sad. If you see something, go talk to the person being harassed if you're comfortable with it, or, you know, if they're like actively in a dangerous situation and you are comfortable with it and you feel like you can handle it, please go talk to them, try to get them out of it. If not, immediately go to con staff and bring them to that area. It's a really hard gauge to judge. I personally am comfortable enough, because I've been to enough conventions that I know how to deal with it, is that I'm personally comfortable enough to go up and involve myself in those situations. But like, if you're not, please immediately go to con staff. Even if you think that like, even if you think something might be happening, it is always better to report it and something doesn't happen than to not report it and something did happen, if that makes sense. So keep your fellow con-goers safe, please. Lastly, and on a very much lighter note, have fun. Cons are for you to have fun. Have, you know, make friends, go to panels, do activities, buy art, other con things that I can't think about right now. Enjoy yourself. You're there to have fun. It's a 2 to 3 day long weekend. And you're gonna not have fun? No, absolutely not. Have fun. Force your friends to go. I forced my friends to go. I mean, most of my friends are cosplayers now, but originally I forced my friends to go. My non-cosplayer friends who only went the one day, I'm making them go all 3 days this year because I want to, and I don't want to go by myself. I wouldn't be by myself, but I'm making them go. So, anyways, have fun. Have cons. Hopefully this list was kind of an informative thing for you. Most cosplayers, most seasoned cosplayers know this, but my new baby cosplayers or baby con-goers, hopefully this was sort of helpful to you. If not, I'm sorry. Hold on, I'll compensate you for your time if this wasn't helpful for you. Here's a photo of my mother getting her hair done. She looks like a hairless dog. I tell her that, so I'm not just insulting my mom. I mean, I am, but she knows I am. Alright, love you. Hopefully see you all next week. If not, I'm so sorry. That's the video. Goodbye. Like what to do. My chair's a little squeaky. Sorry about that. If you want a photography, wow, the next 2 days. I can English.